Hi, I am at Capital Audio Fest 2023, and I wanted to give you my impressions of some listening rooms the first night and the first day yesterday, Saturday. On Thursday night, I visited 4 rooms, and yesterday I visited, I think, around 12 rooms, and I just thought I'd give you some highlights and impressions so far. I visited Val Kora in the Kora VPI Audio Research Room. Val has a very big room. It was very fun. I got to meet Matt and Harry Weisfeld for the first time. Whenever I hear tubes on great speakers with vinyl, I'm generally pretty happy. I thought Val had a great room, sounded good. That's a traditional room that you should definitely check out with Val's top-of-the-line speakers. Another room was Magico S3. I'm not normally a huge fan of the Magicos, but these S3 sounded very good, driven by all CAT electronics. I'm a big fan of the Class A CAT electronics. That was another room. I was drawn into that room because they were playing one of my favorite tracks, Eva Cassidy's Fields of Gold, which I love and play all the time on my system. That's a room to definitely check out. Doug White, the voice that is. He had a complete Tidal system. Tidal with all solid state, not necessarily normally my cup of tea, but Doug is one of these guys that gets great sound year in and year out, show after show. And no matter what he's cooking up, Doug's systems sound great. 2 other guys that are in the similar category, Stephen Norber of Prana Fidelity and Jeff Catalano of Highwater Sound. All 3 of those guys, no matter what they're using, always make great sound. And this year, Doug was no exception. Something I really enjoyed, Classic Audio, a very large traditional looking box horn speaker with field coil driver driven by atmosphere amplifiers. I think that was my personal favorite sound of the show so far. Sounded incredibly realistic playing a jazz album I play all the time myself. I think it's Red Hot Ray Brown Trio. So I know what that sounds like because I play it on my system all the time. Piano on this Classic Audio atmosphere system totally sounded better than that same track sounds on my system. I always have this discussion with Ralph Karsten about OTL amplifiers. I love the crystalline transparency of OTL amplifiers, but I've always heard them as being a little bit lean. And Ralph always tells me that, Ron, you're simply used to the gauzy, fuzzy sound of output transformers. And I say, Ralph, that may be right, but that's just the sound I like. So Classic Audio in a giant room so far playing vinyl and tape, no digital to be found, I think overall was the most convincing sound I've heard so far. Ken Songer, once again, I loved Ken Songer's field coil driver systems. Yesterday he was playing the S1, today he's going to be playing the S2, the open baffle, this time driven by Traffimatic Electronics. Once again, I find the Ken Songer speakers natural and organic and realistic and dynamic and detailed without being artificial in any way. It's just a sound that works for me. Although at dinner last night, I totally twisted Ken's arm to get some vinyl in there. He's got to get some analog in there because I think that especially people that cotton to that kind of sound would very much like to hear analog on it. So Classic Audio, Ken Songer, 2 of my favorite systems so far. Oh, interestingly, both of them are field coil driver systems. And note that when I interview loudspeaker designers on the What's Best Forum Masters and Makers interview series, I often ask if the loudspeaker designer has ever experimented with field coil drivers because there just seems to be something to it. It's a outdated technology that's been reinvigorated, but there seems to be something definitely to the field coil driver design. MBL. I have enjoyed listening to Jeremy and Greg, who provides the tape decks, MBL systems for years. And in my experience, almost everybody is wowed when you first hear an MBL system. You love the spaciousness, you love the seemingly physical presence of the musicians in the room, the openness, the spaciousness, the incredible off-axis response. And people either stay in that category and say, oh, these MBLs are the best things I've ever heard, or people veer off and say, you know what, after a certain amount of time, honestly, I found it a little bit bright, a little bit fatiguing, a little bit relentless, in which case people move on to something else. I don't know what they're doing last night or what fairy dust they sprinkled in that system, but all of my impressions I've always had consistently were thrown out the window last night. Last night, what I heard from the MBL 101E Mark IIs, the usual MBL, the Giant Class A electronics, but this time with Greg's Super Deck, his top-of-the-line Super Deck, playing Greg's own analog tapes, not those Bruce Brown tapes from back when. It was organic and warm and not at all fatiguing and not at all bright, like I have never heard. I was completely baffled. And I don't know what they've done exactly, if it could just be as simple as Greg's new tape deck and the analog tapes. And I know they put Shung Mook footers under everything now, but it was just a sound unlike I have ever heard from MBL. So whatever you're doing, guys, I love it. Keep it up. I'm just completely baffled by what I heard. Okay, I think those are the initial impressions from the first day and a half. If you've liked this video, please click like and subscribe to the channel to support me continuing to do these. And you may have noticed on the channel that I'm now trying the format of YouTube Shorts, running into a room, doing the short, recording, and basically posting instantly the moment I leave the room. Please let me know in the comments if you like that format or if you think some other format would be more valuable to you. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow with another update.